Hello and welcome back to another exciting session. I'm your host Mahesh Karia. You're watching me on YouTube now, and today I'm gonna take you through the full stack application with a Flutter and a fast API. So without wasting any time, let's deep dive into it. We already have a made similar video with React as well. So this time we'll use the same user model but with Flutter. So yeah, let's deep dive into it. So you have to have Flutter available inside your system, and you have to have Python available inside your system. You can python.org/downloads. You can get Python from here. Current version is 3.9 point something, I guess, and we don't need to use Node for this tutorial. Okay, so yeah, from here you can download this thing, and you have to have one editor available inside your system. I'm using VS Code because this is very lightweight. You can download few plugins as well. For MySQL, you can use MySQL client, which is very cool, by the way. This one, so I'm using this one here. Okay, so it's all your choice what you use and how you download MySQL, and it's all up to you. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So I'm going to use integrated terminal, but before that I have to create new folder on my desktop. Name it whatever it may be. We'll name it fast Flutter, I guess. And after that, simply drag your folder on the top of your VS Code. Open this thing. Okay, now you just need to open integrated terminal. I'm using git bash. You can use anything, by the way, PowerShell or whatever it may be, but I'm more comfortable with git bash or WSL, you can say. So okay, so now the very first thing you have to check whether you have that Python version 3 point or more than 3 should be there. And after that I need to install virtual env. So you can install pip install virtual env. Okay, I already have it, so I'm not going to install this thing. After that you just need to hit virtual env space name of your folder. Like I always prefer to use venv. You can choose any, by the way. Hit enter. It will create a virtual environment. Okay, so you will get this new folder over here once you hit this command, which is venv. Okay, now we need to activate that virtual environment. Before that, we can create folder structure here, like similar, like we'll have models, we'll have routes, we'll have schemas. So models, then we'll be having schemas, then we'll be having config first, because we need to make connection inside config folder. So after that we'll be having routes. Okay, and index.py, of course. Index.py, this is it, I guess. Now we can install the dependencies. We can say you can hit Control B to close this up, and after that you just need to activate to source space venv slash scripts slash activate. This is it, I guess. It will activate your virtual environment. After that you can simply write pip install fast API. After that you will be having SQL Alchemy. Then we'll be having one PyMySQL, and we'll be having UVCon too. So we don't need to restart our server for each time. This is it, I guess. These 4 dependencies are required, and cryptography as well. So we'll install this later. So now from fast API, import fast API, and inside app variable we'll be using fast API. So this is it, I guess. These 2 lines of code. We'll set up the course later. So now we can start with these 2 lines of code as well. Now we can go with the config first, and we'll have a db.py over there, and you have to rename it db.py. Okay, now we have to define the connection will come from SQL Alchemy. Okay, now you need to import create engine and meta, I guess. Okay, so meta data. Now here you need to create connection will equal to uh, create engine. Okay, this will be equal to engine, by the way. And here we need to create a MySQL connection, so you have to have MySQL available inside your system. So in here you just need to use engine, and after that you need to define your command here. MySQL // localhost and :3306 will be our default port /testdb or db that will define. Okay, I haven't installed MySQL yet, so I'm gonna tell you how to install it if you don't know already. So you can use XAMPP, whatever it may be, whatever you prefer. It's all your choice, guys, but I always prefer to use Docker. Lots of guys don't like Docker always, but it's a good practice to know Docker and basic commands. So root will be our default user, : your password will be password. We'll create the password, will be password, and after that @ symbol and your localhost. So this is it, I guess. After that you just need to create a meta variable. Okay, so we'll assign metadata over here. So, and in here we'll be having connection equals to engine dot connect. So this 4 lines of code is enough for getting connection with your MySQL. So now I have to start my Docker first. So I already have Docker desktop available inside my system. If you haven't already, you can grab this package from here. You can simply search for Docker or Docker desktop if you are on Windows or whatever it may be. If you are on Mac or Linux, it's completely fine. There is the simplest way to, you can choose Linux, Mac, or whatever it may be. Okay, already have it Docker, so it will take some time to get start. So till then, after installation, you just need to hit this command docker -- version. Okay, and after that you will get your current version. It means Docker is available inside your system. After that you just need to hit one more command, which is docker run -- name of your container. Like I'm going to use MySQL db. Okay, till MySQL for fast API or whatever it may be. MySQL db will be better, I guess. Okay, MySQL database will say, because I already have the containers with name MySQL db, I guess, so that's why I'm not doing this. So after that, in detach mode, I'm going to publish this thing in 3306 : 3306. This is my port for my computer, my laptop, and this port will be available to my container. So make sure this is external, this is internal port. After that, you need to define environment variable, which will be MySQL root password. Okay, will be password. So I have defined over here password means this password. You can set your password over here, and another variable is MySQL database. So you need to define database name over here, which will be test, I guess. Yeah, we have defined the test. This is our db name. Okay, so you need to define test over here, so it will automatically create db for you guys. So after that you need to define image name, which will be, we have defined in detach mode, publish port. That's it. Now image name will be MySQL. It will automatically import the MySQL from Docker Hub. :latest you can write, or you can define : your version as well. But this is it, I guess. This one command is enough to getting started with your container. So error conflict daemon container MySQL database is already, I told you guys, I already have it. So let's see, let's try MySQL db. MySQL DB. Okay. Okay, it's available. So yeah, so now it will automatically start your container if you want to check. Okay, so here you just need to define uvicon index, the name of your file, and colon app, the variable that you have defined, that you have assigned with the fast API, and hyphen reload. So you don't need to restart your server after each change inside your files. So yeah, this is it, I guess. Once one more thing is important. Okay, we'll go with the schemas first. First, we'll create a user.js inside schema. So user.py, sorry, I used to work on JS, so nowadays. So yeah, user.py, and from SQL alchemy, no, fast API, I guess. Fast API import pydantic. Okay, so we can say no, we don't. From pydantic, we need to import base model. Pydantic, we need to import base model. So this is it, I guess. So now we can create a class with the name user, which will be inherited from base model. After that, we'll create like name, which will be type of string. After that, we'll create email. This is the common model that I always prefer to choose. Password will be type of string. This is it. This is my schema. So Swagger will understand what parameters you have to pass to in post method or in update method. So this will be a user that so I haven't defined ID over here because we are not going to. ID will be our primary key, which will automatically generate. So we don't need to define this over here. Inside route as well, you will create a user.py, which will be having few routes create for created, update, delete, and inside models will be having the same user.py, but here from SQL alchemy we'll import table, and we can say column. So this is it, I guess. I need meta as well. So from we can say connection.db we'll import meta. Okay, and we'll be having connection. We don't need to define connection over here, I guess. Okay, because we'll be using inside routes. Connection will use inside routes, and here we'll create a users variable which will be having a table with the name of users, and this users uh, will also have a meta. You have to define meta over here. So when we can create this thing, this tables. So after that, inside whatever, inside here you just need to define your column name, which will be ID, and a type will be string, and you have to define the length like varchar or this 255 that we always prefer to use. And but this is ID. You can choose char 36 as well with UUID, or I always prefer to choose we can say integer. Okay, which will be primary key true. Okay, next column will be name with string. Okay, 255 comma will be having the primary key equals to true, and after that column with name, email, and why we are defining this primary key? This is not primary key. Okay, so this is it, I guess, and password will be there, of course. So you need to import this string as well, string, and we'll import this thing as well. So yeah, this is it. These 4 lines should be enough, I guess. So quick fix, and from this SQL types you can import this thing, or you can use control plus dot as well. Okay, so import this string as well. So this is it. So connection db we have imported meta. Okay, so yeah, this is one more thing here. You need to define meta dot create all. So it will create all the tables. You need to create index, and where you have to import all the users or whatever the models you will define, and after that you just need to hit create all. Okay, so inside that you will be having users less. Okay, so this is it, I guess. Now we can move to the routes. So inside here we just need to import these things like from we can say REST API, REST fast API, not REST API, fast API. We can import, we can say API router, and here we can define a router, which will be, we can say user, which will be better, I guess, will be API router. Okay, now we can define or methods or CRUD operation, we can say. So user dot get will be my first method to fetch all the data. This will be find users, I guess. Fetch users will be better. So fetch users, and inside there I'll return we can say connection dot execute. So we need to import this thing from our db. So from we can say config. I have made one mistake, I guess. Inside users I have used connection. It should be config. You know this already, I know, but sorry. So from config.db I'm going to import my connection users as well. I need to import. Okay, so now we can say from our models dot user will import users. This is it, I guess. Now from schema dot user will import user, which will be capital user, that we have defined the class inside schema with pydantic. So this is it, I guess. So when I write the query, I need to define users dot select method to select all, and fetch all method to convert this thing to normal. Okay, normally I always use this thing, but this is it, I guess. This get method will be enough. Now I need to import this route to the index file, so I'll be using one more thing here. So from routes dot user import user, and this user I need to import here, like app dot include router, and simply I need to define this user to here. So after that we'll get some errors, I guess. Yeah, cryptography package I told you I have to install. So simply stop your server and simply hit pip install that cryptography. Once you get this thing, after that we can proceed. So it will take some time, I guess. So till then we'll create the rest of the things, like inside routes. I'll copy this thing for 3 more times for create, read, update, delete, and last one is most likely delete. So we'll get started with delete first. So when you delete something, you have to have ID, primary key you have to provide, or whatever it may be, but I'm going to use id, which will be type of integer, of course. And when we use delete method, you need to define a where condition, where you will be defining which column, means users dot column dot id should match this id that you are passing here, and then it will automatically delete this thing. Okay, here as well inside this will be update method, put method. So in put method as well, we'll be having a id first, and on the basis of that id, which will be a first type of integer, we'll try to execute update method, which will be similar to delete, but we'll be having values. Okay, so at the same time we need values, so it means it will be type of user, okay, or whatever it may be, it's all up to you. But for making it simple, I'm using user model. So here we'll define the name will be equal to user.name. After that, you need to define email, which will be type of user.email. Okay, user.email, and after that you need to define a password, which will be type of, sorry, which will be user.password, not type of. So this is it. And one more thing, we don't need this fetch all thing. Instead of, we'll be having same this where condition that you have to grab from here and simply paste over here. This is it, simple. Now the same thing goes here, means inside post method we just need to pass user only. This will be a simpler. Yeah, one more thing, you need to define this thing. This will be delete user, this will be put user, we can say update user, and this will be our post user. Okay, and this is it, I guess. And here you just need to define insert method with values as well, and we don't need to define fetch all here as well. And instead of this thing, I'll grab this thing, which will be more easier. Okay, now again we'll start with the uvicon. Okay, hyphen reload. We'll get some error, I guess, if our MySQL connection was not okay. Table has no object, whatever. So we'll go to the models directly and we'll see the table that we have imported from SQL Alchemy, which was not right. Let me check. So attribute, table, meta, column, everything is perfect. Looks fine to me. SQL Alchemy. Okay, let's check. Config import. One more thing I'm sure about, this will be having engine, and this engine that we have to pass here, and then it should work, I guess. So yeah, this is working. And if I go here to localhost /8000/docs, we'll see this nice beautiful swagger page with the all 4 requests, get, post, delete and update. Let's try this out, execute this thing. We'll get the empty array because we don't have anything yet. So inside post user, you can try this out with the execute query. Let's see internal server error. Let's because API router has no object name. Okay, it's completely fine. We'll go to the API router here, and this name belongs to user, which will be having a user model. Let's try this out again. Wait for this reload and execute same thing again. It will return something. Field is missing. Let's see which field. Okay, the parameters that we have to choose. Okay, here I have to pass Mahesh. Okay, it's Mahesh Karya at gmail.com. Then we'll be having password. Mahesh at 123, which is not my official password, but email is my official email. If you're watching this video, if you are facing some issues, let me know. Okay, user object has no attribute password, spelling mistake maybe. Password PASSWORD. Okay, we'll go to the schemas, and inside schemas the password is correct, I guess, so it should work. Okay, WRD. So we have mistaken somewhere inside schemas. WORD. Let's grab this thing, okay, and let's search for here. We'll get this thing here. So WORD should be there. Let's try this out once again. Okay, and execute this thing. So same again, there is password here as well. Okay, now this is perfect, I guess. And here as well. And let's refresh this thing once again. Let's try this out with Mahesh. Okay, and with Mahesh at 123. Let's try this again. Okay, let's see user password. Okay, change all occurrences that this time we'll use. So we'll save a lot more time this time. So yeah, hopefully it should work now. So yeah, it's done, but we are not getting any response. But when you fetch something, then you will get this very first entry over there. Okay, you can check your databases as well. I'm not going to check any because we have to make this crash course video. So we'll try to update data now. Mahesh at 123. Okay, this will be Mahesh at 123.com. This will be Mahesh at 321. Let's see this is working or not. Hopefully this is working. We are getting empty response. So if I go here to execute this thing, we'll get updated results. At the same time, if we try to delete this thing, hopefully it will work. And let's try this out. So we got the, now we can see inside fetch users you will get the empty result, this. So for the safety, I'll add this thing again. So we'll at least have one entry in our DB. So this is it, I guess. Now we can proceed with the Flutter part, but before that we need to import that course, which is very important. So for that we need to define one more thing here. Inside your index.py you just need to define this thing. It will allows the cross-platform origins to accept your request. So yeah, this is it, I guess. So you can define star over here, which will allow us to access from anywhere. So this is it, I guess, to set up the course middleware. Now we can start with the Flutter thing. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Inside here you just need to set up Flutter. So from here, from market store, you can install Flutter snippets and Flutter. If you are using Android Studio, you can use anything, by the way. There are lots of plenty of other options, but I always prefer to use this Flutter and this snippets. These two things are enough for me. And so Control KW, close this thing, and after that inside view, Control Shift P, you just need to hit Flutter and new project, Flutter new project, hit enter. It will ask for the location. I'll go to the desktop. Simply I'll choose the desktop folder. Okay, so inside desktop, fast Flutter, yeah, fast Flutter, no, inside desktop we haven't made, so I'll choose the desktop, will be better. Okay, select this thing. We'll name it You can say fast Flutter. Okay, it will create another window, which is all right, but at the same time we need to know this. So it's gone, I guess. So it's fine. We'll open this terminal again. So inside another window, we'll open this fast API stuff. Okay, so it should be running, and this one, and here we'll be having this Flutter thing. Okay, so we'll be having, and we'll use instead of that Android Studio or emulator simulator, I always prefer to choose the Chrome. So you can make projects with familiar with the web based as well. Okay, so here fast, I have made spelling mistake I guess here, but it's fine. I made plenty of spelling mistakes today. Okay, let's remove this all the boilerplate, and we can start with the fresh code. Okay, so if I go to here, it's just started inside my Chrome. So it's all up to you what you use, but I always prefer to choose this thing. No widget found, no, which is fine. It's fine. So inside debug console we'll be having. So we'll go to the home. Inside home we have normal container. Okay, and okay. Anyways, we'll start with the material app. Okay, so instead of child and this container, I'll try to use material app. Inside that material app we'll be having a home scaffold. Okay, this will create the white shit. Okay, and after that it will have app bar, which will be having app bar. Okay, and app bar will be having one child, I guess, or we can say title. Okay, which will be text widget, and text will be title for now, which will be dynamic by the way. We should be centered aligned, which will be automatically okay, it should be centered aligned. And after that we'll be having a body. Inside that body will define any widget, but for now hello text widget. Let's try hello world again. This time it should work. And if I go here, then we'll be having that bottom navigation bar. So let's search for bottom navigation bar. Bottom navigation bar, this one, and inside that we'll be having items, which will be inside array of course. So bottom navigation bar item, we can say, which will be having icon. So let's go with icons dot home or table. We can say we need to define the table. So actually it's a list most likely. So it will be having a title. Instead of title we can which is deprecated by the way nowadays, so we always use label. So label will be directly, you can define label inside string, which will be list by the way for now. And after that you can grab this thing for 2 times, for 1 time only. We'll create form here. Okay, and this will be edit icon, I guess. Edit will be better. This is it. So these 2 things, if I go here and if I try to run this thing again, which is not is running already. It should work, I guess. Anyways, we can proceed with the coding part. We'll see it later. So imagine this is the dynamic menu bar, and on tab we have to change this thing. So okay, this is working hopefully. So now we can do one thing. We can define on tab method over here. After items on tab, we can call the function which is set state. Okay, but for the set state we need to define few variables here. So let's say we will be having a var widget. Okay, var title, will start the title first. So title will be by default list. Okay, then we'll be having one we can say the array of widgets. So let's try this widgets, which will be having the array. Okay, we can say list. Okay, we are going to create a list and we are going to create a form. Okay, these two widgets that we have to have, and this and index, the current active index that we have to define. So current index, like this is active for now. Okay, once I click this thing it will be activated. So index will be by default 0. Okay, you need to define semicolon, make sure to use semicolon always, and after that inside form the method will be same, import that material dot, and after that it will be having a stateful widget which will be, you can name it whatever it may be, like my form will be better. And in here inside container you can define a text variable which will be type of we can say form. Okay, so this form is ready. For the list the similar process will follow. Import material dot, and we can say stateful widget my form, my list this time. And once we have it inside container, I'll directly create a text which will be list most likely. And if I go here I just need to hit control dot. Okay, this will be my form, I guess. Okay, after that remove this thing, my list. Hit to the suggestion that you will get, it will automatically import this thing for you. You don't need to import this thing again. So now this widgets will go here inside body with the current index. Okay, so make sure to use current index. Okay, and if possible try to use integer over here, which will make sense, I guess. Okay, let's try to use int. Okay, you can define this thing here as well, but it's fine for now. So on tab we'll set this thing. Okay, we'll set our current index to the value, okay, that we'll get from here or here, I guess, not here, from here. Okay, this value that we'll get from there, and we'll set this thing the current index most likely. And this title as well, inside here I'll be using this title which will be type of string, by the way. So it will be, we can choose the titles, by the way. Okay, and this will be also array. the first one is list and the second one is form. Okay, so this titles will be having index again, so which will be having a current index, we can say. So if this is right, then it should work. Okay, this is working. Let's try this out. So it's working. Form, list, form and list. Now the last thing is this is, we are able to change this thing, but the active icon which is not changing, let's say, or let's say current index will be current index. Now it should work, I guess. Let's hot reload this thing, minimize this thing little bit, try this again. Okay, so this is working. You are able to change this thing, but now the real thing is still not, we have started. Let's try to create this thing first. Okay, we don't need to about, so this will be having the list. Okay, so we need to add one package inside your YAML file. So search for control P YAML. Inside that pub spec YAML, you just need to define your package inside here, http colon, that's it, control S. It will automatically install the package. Till then, okay, this is it, I guess. Now we can close this thing, and after that we can start with the models first. So after that screens, the second thing was needed was models, and inside that you need to define user dot dart. Okay, which will be having a class user. Okay, and now we'll be having a final int id. Okay, then we'll be having a final string name. Okay, then we'll be having a final string email, final string password. Okay, and after that we'll call user constructor. Inside that, this dot id comma this dot name comma this dot password and this dot email as well. So this four thing was needed here. So after that we'll go to the list, and inside that list we need to fetch data first. So here I'll be using import that http thing. So we can say http dot dart. Once you write a dart, it will suggest you as http, we can say, and in here will be having future, we can say fetch users method. Fetch users will be good, I guess. Fetch users, which will be type of async. Here you need to define async after this circular thing, and here you need to define that http dot get method with URI dot parse. Okay, inside here you need to define your URL like http colon slash slash localhost colon 8000, I guess, will fetch all the users, and it should be inside single quotation. Okay, this is it, semicolon was needed, and after that you need to store this thing inside response. Okay, once you get the response, now you can create another method, like we can say where data is equal to json dot decode. So I need to import JSON, I guess, and this your response dot body will go here. Okay, so instead of this thing, we can also use users. Okay, we'll be having array and we'll use a for loop. Okay, so for we'll be having, we can say, value in JSON decode that your response, okay, dot body slightly, it should work, I guess. And if I go here and if I use users dot add, and we'll be having user. Okay, inside that user you need to define JSON of, we can say, we can directly define this u dot id, u name, email, and the last one is password. So this is it, and inside here this will be name. Why we are getting this thing, I'm not sure, but it should be inside user. Okay, you need to import this user as well. So simply search for quick fix, it will suggest. Okay, and after that, once you get the users, you can return users as well. So, and we can print this thing over here to make sure that users are, we are getting users, and inside here we'll call init state, where you can call your method, which will be fetch users. So once we call this method over here, so it will fetch the users for the first time automatically. And one more thing, semicolon was needed. This thing should have semicolon, this thing should have await. Now it should work. Let's go here, let's remove this banner first, which will come from here, is from main home, where you have defined this material. You will get option, simply write banner, okay, and write false. Okay, this is it, the banner is gone. So after that, inside inspect element, inside this debug, okay, we are having few things. Line number 7 in user, here we have to use this thing, restarted. Okay, and now we can see inside inspect will be having console, and inside that console we can see error, connection refused, localhost colon 8000. Yeah, we need to start uvcon. So again we need to start this thing. So source vnv slash scripts slash activate. Okay, now uvcon space, we can say index app hyphen hyphen reload. It will take some time. Till then we'll get this thing. Let's try this again. Let's close this thing, refresh this thing. You'll get something here. Okay, it should not take that much time, but we are in debug mode, I guess. That's why in production mode you want. Okay, instance of users. So it's working, guys. It's working. So we got something over there. Now we can start with the list, of course. So inside here we'll be using list. So we'll be using future builder. Okay, future builder will be having a future method which will call the fetch users. Okay, after that you will be having this we can say builder, which will be having context comma snapshot, which will be type of async snapshot. Not getting suggestion. Which will be build context. Okay, now in here, okay, because of this curly braces we are not getting suggestions. So inside here we'll be having, we'll check first that if snapshot has data, okay, then only we can proceed, or else snapshot has data, you can define like this as well. Okay, then we'll simply return circular indicator, progress indicator, this thing. Okay, okay, and it should not like that. It should like data is equal to null. In that case only we'll check this thing, else everything will be all right. Okay, now in here we'll return this list view builder, where we'll be having item builder and item count, of course. So here you have to define that item count, which will be the length of your snapshot. So snapshot dot data dot length. Okay, so in here you'll be having context. Okay, okay, so you will be having this build context and int. Okay, so we can return, we can define list style over here. Inside that list style I'll be using a snapshot dot data of that index. Okay, dot name for now. So this is it, I guess, and it should be title. So this is it. So if I go to the list, let's see if we are getting this thing or not, or we have made a mistake. Okay, semicolon, I guess. Let's see. Once I restart this thing, I'll get the new changes, but after that we'll also have the email as a subtitle over here. Instead of this name we'll use email, and here as well we'll be having subtitle. Okay, Yeah, looks good to me. And after that, in here, this is string, I guess. So we need to wrap this thing inside text. Okay, and this thing as well. Let's try this again. This time it should work. So yeah, we got this Mahesh. It means this is working. Now there should be on tab method. On tab method will open the new thing, and so it will call this thing. Means this is my index page. This is my home page most likely. So if I use navigator dot push method, navigator dot push, okay, context new material page route, and new material page route where I'll be having context, and this context will return to home page. Okay, but this home page, let's try this with I'm not sure where it will go. It will go to the home page, it's fine, but we have to define the parameters that inside home page it should open the list or it should open the form. Okay, so it will change, there are lots of things will change, but we'll start with the form first. We'll save some time. So if I click here, it will redirect it to home page. It's fine, it's working. We'll see it later. Now we can proceed with the form. Inside form will be having form. Okay, and this form will contain column. Okay, so column will contain the lots of things. Children's will have text form field. Okay, and this text form field will contain a decoration, will be input decoration, I guess. Input decoration will be having int. In text will be enter name. Okay, we'll control save this thing. We'll go to the edit form. Okay, it's still loading by the way. And after that, here we'll be having sized box with the height of 20, I guess. Height of 20. Okay, now we can proceed with the further things, but we'll be also having, let's say we'll call init state here. Okay, so inside that we'll be having few things like we need to define where name controller will be text editing controller, most likely text editing controller. Okay, which will be type of text editing controller. We can say new text editing controller. Same will follow for email and password as well. So for email and for password we'll use this thing. So inside here we can use controller, which will be my name controller. Okay, we'll use id controller as well. Inside here we'll be having id controller. Sometimes when you try to edit the form, it will be hidden by default. Okay, and this form field will grab this thing for 2 more times, 1 and 2, for email and for password. This is for email, this is for password, this will be for password controller, this will be my email controller. Okay, and one thing is remaining that I have to define here. The visibility of this thing will be false, because the same form will be using for the posting data and editing data. Then how you will know when you have to edit and post? So this is something inside id. If you found 0 by default, it means you are trying to post the data, and if you try to edit something, you will get the id inside that thing, which is not editable, by the way. So you will understand this for editing. So this is false. Okay, so now if I go here, the material, one thing I missed, the material button. Okay, material button on pressed will call something, of course, but before that we need to define one child, or we can say width first. Okay, minimum width double dot infinity, we can say. Okay, inside here we'll be having child, I guess, which will be text, let's say, and inside here I'll be using submit only. So let's try this thing again, and if I go here, you will get this thing. But before that, you need to wrap this form inside padding, which is at least 16, I guess. Not 16, is not good, but most likely it should be 10 or 12. It's all up to you how you use it. And now we can proceed with the further things. So okay, now we can close this thing. If I go to here, this the color should we have to define. So color should be colors dot blue, and now the text color will be colors dot white. So we have to wrap this thing inside color function as well. So let's see, right, debug. So yeah, now we can proceed with further things. Okay, so if I go to edit, so yeah, this is my submit button. So yeah, we can proceed with the things. Like now the main thing is, if I go to the list and if I wanted to call home, I have to define that which widget you have to call. So widget name you have to define. We'll define this property over there. So widget name will be I'm not sure how to do this thing, but let's say my form, and inside my form there are two situations. Like what you wanna do, you can say form type. Okay, that type will be edit or delete. So instead of that form we'll pass the user. Okay, so user will be our user. So inside here we'll pass this user that we got from here. Okay, so we need to define this user from here. Okay, now we need to first get this thing. Okay, now we need to define this things. First we'll go to the home, then inside that home, inside here we'll define final, we can say widget name, and which will be type of widget, and in here required, we can say what is that, widget name. Okay, so this is it, I guess. Now we can say all final variable must be initialized. Widget name isn't final variable. Why? Widget name should be this dot widget name. Now it will work. So we got this widget name. Okay, now imagine if you already have widget name, then what you will do. So okay, so from here as well, when we are calling here as well, we need to define widget name. By default it will be list, so it will be my list. Okay, so if I save it, if I go here, so at the same time we have to define the current index as well, current index and the title as well. So we'll pass the current index. From the current index it will automatically get the user now. So let's see, for now this is done, we'll see it later. So inside here now, the another thing, you inside my form you need to define that user thing. So if I go here, if I define final user, and if I call this thing here, which will be required, we can say this dot user, and after that if I import this user from user, then we'll be having user. Okay, now what I'll do is inside this init state I'll call this thing id controller. Okay, dot text will be having that user dot name. Okay, that we just got from here, this dot user, we can say. So this dot widget dot user dot name, so it will be like that. So I'll copy this thing for email password as well, name, email, password as well, name, email, and for password as well. And if I go here, password, email, and this will be your id. So we'll get these things. Okay, so we don't have ID, I guess. Inside here we have ID. Okay, so if we have ID, then we should have ID here as well. So this is our ID controller. Let's go to the ID controller. Okay, the toString which is needed to convert this thing. So now we have this thing, and now the most important thing is we click on this, we'll go to here from so let's go to the my form. Why this is not going to my form? Because if I go to the home, okay, this my form is still not here. You need to define user. By default it will be 0 comma name, email and password. By default it will be 0, null, right, for the first time. So here you need to define. If I go here again, so it should redirect it to the form. If I click on this list, the item on list, item of list, let's try this out. Okay, it's not working. Should work. Let's go to here, and on tab of list we are passing user. This is my user. Okay, and if I go to my form, here I am using this controller. Okay, and here I have defined this controller. So okay, so let's create init state here as well. Okay, if I call init state, then we'll get the current widget. Current widget, and will be equals to on this dot, we can say widget dot widget name. Okay, that widget name will come here, and I don't have widget name yet, so I'll define this widget. Let's say this widget will be my list by default. Okay, and this list will get, okay, why we are getting widget can't be assigned to the variable of type my list. Why? Okay, current widget. We don't need to define this thing. We need to define, this is widget, right? So it should be like this. So we'll get this widget from there to here. Okay, we are getting, so we are calling home from here. Okay, so we are providing this name here. We are calling home from here, so we are providing this name here. At the same time you need to define this title as well. Title should be list, let's say. And what else we need? The current index. Index, we'll say index will be 0. Let's pass it from here. Let's, okay, here as well we'll be having this user, this widget name first. So let's use this index will be 1. Okay, and we'll be having title will be, let's say, form or edit. Okay, because we are going to edit this thing. At the same time, inside home you need to define final string title. Okay, and final or int index, and we'll say required for this dot index and required this dot title as well. So we'll get these three things, and at the same time we'll grab these three things over here as well. If I go here, if I grab title, so my current title should be, let's say, this is my current title. Okay, so this will be okay. We don't need to define title, but it's fine if I define my current title. On click will define something else, but for now we have title. So here we'll be having a title, and on click the current title will change. Okay, so on tab the current title will be this. Okay, so we haven't defined this current title yet, but find this thing as a string. Here current title will be list by default, let's say. And now we have a last thing, which is current index. Okay, so let's say current index will be this dot, we can say widget dot index. Okay, we'll be having few issues as well with this approach. Let's try this out once again. Inside here we are passing these three things. Okay, so we got this thing inside here. We need to define one semicolon, and if it will refresh the page, if I click here it will go here, but we need the data as well. We are not getting data here. So let's say inside list, if I go here, it should be added, so it's getting updated, and this my form should have user. Okay, and if I go to the my form, it should have this things widget user. So let's print user here. So print this dot widget dot user here. Know why the user is, you're not getting user. Looks good to me. Let's try this again. Instance of user we are getting here. Let's try to print name. Okay, it means we are getting user here, but somehow we are not able to print. It's fine. The only mistake we have made is This is our text editing controller. Okay, and let's say if I save this thing again, and this is very real-time video, that's why I'm taking time to resolve bugs. Okay, so still we are getting nothing. I have found one thing, that it should be inside set state. Okay, we are not setting the state, so let's call set state here. Let's call this again. After that it might work. Let's wait for the page refresh again, and if this time if I what happened, still this is not working. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go to the home, and this widget dot current index that we are getting from there, so we need to define widget name here first. The current widget name, this one, so it will be updated here. Current widget will be this, and this will go here, so then it will get that thing, I guess. That should work. Okay, if I go to here, then it will work this time. Let's see, because it was not getting that current user, that's why. Now we got this thing, but we need to perform further actions. So we'll go to the form, we'll create another method, will be future. Okay, post data or saved, we can say. Okay, will be better, makes sense. Okay, now inside that save, I'll be using I'll check first if that user means this dot user dot id is equal to or triple equal to 0, then it means we are trying to post the data. It means await. Okay, http dot post, and we need to import this http here. Import http dot dart as http. Okay, we got this thing. Now here as well we'll post the data, so URI dot parse we can say, or http colon localhost colon 8000, same. Okay, not sure about this URI, but this dot user, so we need to pass user here, I guess will be better. This is not working here. If I pass user here, and if I call http, okay, this we have just used it here. Okay, URI dot parse, it looks like this. Okay, it means we'll post the data. At the same time we'll use set state if possible. Here we are not able to use set states. It means we need to use set state here only. When I click on button, like here, if I click on button, it should set state to the 0, like all these four things will be updated, or we can say we can directly redirect to the another page will be better, I guess. So yeah, this is better. So we'll redirect this thing to the next page. So we'll grab this thing and we'll paste this thing inside here, and this time inside here snapshot, we are not dealing with snapshot, we are just returning my list here. Okay, my list. And inside home, it means we need to grab this thing, quick fix, import home. So once we post the data, we'll redirect it to list. Okay, and if I this, it should be list. Okay, it should be 0, and you can optimize this thing. I have used it as my requirement. Okay, and if I go to form again, I'll see this thing. So else I'll be using await method for put. Okay, so we'll use put method instead of post, and here we'll pass, I'll paste this thing. Okay, so this is the format of passing the data, headers and body. So let's import this thing. Instead of this title, I'll be passing name, email, password. So here we'll pass user.name. Okay, and we'll pass email, password. This will be your email. Okay, and this will be my email. Let's say this will be my password. Okay, so yeah, we got this, and just need to make sure this is it. Okay, and if I get this thing here with put method, then I need to pass id over here, slash id. So we'll get from user.id.toString most likely. Yeah, and here this will be the same, I guess, so no need to change this thing. So this is the method we'll call with the user. Okay, so on save, I'll call this save method. Okay, which will be type of await, I guess. We'll call this save method only. We'll push the user here. Okay, so we have user, so we can bind user here like this. Okay, it's all up to you how you use it, but this is better, I guess, if I pass this four parameters here. Okay, id controller dot text, let's say. There are n number of possibilities that you can perform this action, but this is good, I guess, the easiest way. We try this thing, name, email, and let's say password. Okay, and string. Okay, fine. Dot to string, it's fine. No, string can't be assigned to parameter type int. This is parameter type int. So they want me to convert into int. How will convert this thing to int or something else? We can say int dot parse here will pass this thing. So if I pass user here, it should work. Okay. If it's not refreshing, it means I have made something. Okay, it's working. So let's say if I click here, okay, if I go to the network tab, if I click here, then if I click on XHR, okay, if I save it, it will, okay, it will redirect it to this thing, but this is get method, okay, and this is also get method, so I don't need to call this get method. I'm trying to call post method. Let's say I have to wait for execution here. Let's say this is await method and this is async. I save this thing, then if I click this again, if I click on save, okay, something happened. This is again get method. Okay, this thing, I guess put method, yeah, this is called with this things parameter type return. It worked actually. Okay, so let's enter something else like okay, and password should be hidden at 123. Let's post this thing, so we'll get this another thing here. And if I try to update this thing with added symbol, okay, so we'll detect the change in there, so it should updated. So yeah, the update is working now. Let's try to create delete thing, whatever, I don't need this thing. So let's try to create delete button inside form. If I have this material button, you can define as per your own, but for now I'll be using the same button, okay, and I'll call this thing delete, will be better. Okay, so inside text we can instead of submit we'll be using delete. Okay, so I know this is not the right way, but let's use this thing, delete, and here I'll be using delete method, okay, where you just need to pass id, this thing only, that's it, and the rest of the things are not usable. So I don't have delete method yet. I'll create this thing, and in here just like that, just like this, I'll create delete, okay, we'll have id, okay, and we can delete this thing, unwanted function, okay. I don't need this body params as well, and all this was not in use. And if I go here, if I simply use id, it should be in the form of text. We don't need to pass this thing to integer. So if I do this here, okay, and if I go here if I change this back to text, then it might work. But there is another condition. It should only display when I wanted to display this. At the time of post, I don't want this to show this. I don't want to show this button. So let's try this out. Let's see. First we'll try to delete some data like Mahesh. Okay, we need to add spacer. If I hit this delete, it's not getting called. Okay, it's not getting called. Let's see. On press, first we'll add this spacer, which will be size boxed here as well. Okay, after that, this delete, set state delete id controller dot text. Okay, which is looks good to me. If I go to the delete method, which will be type of future delete, await delete. Okay, this should be like this. Let's try this again. So it's deleted. Yeah, delete is working. Now the one more thing is remaining. If I go to the edit, okay, it should not be displayed. Okay, let's try to use visibility over here. If I wrap this widget inside visibility, and if I try to wrap this thing with visible true, we can choose, like, if we have index, okay, let's say id controller, okay, dot text dot toString. No, dot, we need to pass this thing to check. Let's say int dot parse, okay, and if I use this thing with, if I get this thing, then it will be true, else it will be false, like this. So let's see why this is not working. It should be type of bool. Okay, it's fine. Let's try to wrap this thing inside bool. It won't work, I know, it will not work, but even though we have to test, let's say this is for testing only. Of course this is not working, so let's use visibility, okay, and inside here we'll define one another variable, will be type of boolean, okay, which is visibility. Okay, visibility will be by default false, but if we get data in the form of this thing, int, okay, so let's say if we get data in the form of like id controller dot text is, we can grab this thing as well. If we have it, it means we have to update visibility status to true. It will work, I guess. Let's say, what is this thing? Type of bool. So let's say not equals to 0, then then it will work. And let's grab this thing here, and let's say it is showing. Okay, let's use this thing. It's gone. So thank you very much all of you guys for being with me, supporting me all the time. It's been pleasure to be here. And if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe my channel. If you want some videos from my side, please let me know what you want from my side. I'll be more happy to create more this kind of full stack videos. And please make sure to subscribe my channel. Thank you very much. Have a good day, guys. Thank you.